What's going on, my friend? It's Jeff Newpert from ChasingStrength.com. And in today's video, we're going to answer the question, how can I increase or press the blank kilo kettlebell? And in fact, we're going to start a series of videos where we're going to cover 5 different ways to do that. Okay, so how can I press the blank kettlebell? That was a question Paul recently emailed me about. So I thought that you might want to know the answer in case you're looking to press a heavier kettlebell or a heavier pair of kettlebells. For context, and we'll throw this up here on the screen here, here's exactly what Paul said. He said, I know there is no easy answer, but how can I press the 36 kilo bell? I can press 32 kilos twice, each arm usually, occasionally 3 times, but the 36 is just too challenging. And you know what? Paul's right. There isn't an easy answer per se, but there are simple ones. And in fact, like I said, there's at least 5 of them, and we're going to cover them in this video series. So starting with strategy number 1, you have to actually press more. So depending on how long you've been in the iron game, this saying may be cliche to you, right? To press a lot, you must press a lot, okay? And that's because strength is actually built from volume, the amount of work you end up doing. Recent research confirms that volume is one of the key drivers for increasing maximum strength, but not nearly as much as it is for building muscle, apparently. So plan on pressing more. How much more? Well, for experienced trainees, a minimum of 12 to 20 plus sets per week. Keep your reps between 1 and 3 for what we call neural strength. That's strength where you don't produce any unnecessary muscle size, which is just kind of stupid. Unnecessary muscle size? Who doesn't want to get bigger, right, bro? Know what I'm saying? But seriously, I mean, this is for guys who are limited to a weight class or rock climbers, something like that. Okay. So for building strength and muscle, you're going to want to up that rep range a little bit and keep your reps between 4 and 6. Now, remember, the reality is both rep ranges, both types of strength, okay, neural strength and what we call traditional maximum strength, okay, are important. And that's because the cross-sectional area or the size of a muscle has been shown to be directly correlated to the the potential maximum strength of that muscle, right? In other words, a bigger muscle is potentially stronger than a smaller muscle. So what do you use if you want to build neural strength? Well, I recommend using the Giant 3.0 and either 1.0 or 2.0 for building strength and muscle. Okay, so that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, you're going to use specialized variety. What's that? Well, in his book, A System of Multi-Year Training in Weightlifting, Alexander Medvedev, who was the Soviet team coach, a world champion and Olympic champion weightlifter himself, okay, describes over 100 different exercises Olympic weightlifters use to train their snatch and their clean and jerk. You might have seen one of my other videos where I recently alluded to this, but we'll cover it again in this one. So in other words, they didn't just snatch, clean, and jerk. They used variations of those exercises. Okay, so for example, instead of doing the traditional clean where you lift the barbell from the floor, jump underneath it, and catch it in a full squat, they used what's called the power clean, okay? And the power clean is where you don't catch it in a full squat, but catch it with slightly bent knees. Now they did this power clean from the floor, from below the knee, from above the knee, from plinths, right, which are like boxes, okay? And then they would go back maybe to the classic clean, which is the clean that I just described to you, which they compete, right? And they do that from the floor, okay? It's called classic clean or the competition clean, or they do that from below the knee or above the knee or at the knee or on the plinths or boxes, okay? And those, again, are all variations or specialized variety of the clean. Now, you can do the same thing with your kettlebell press. And here are some examples. We'll just flash these up. And by the way, these are not exhaustive, okay? So you got the double press, you got the single push press, you got the double push press, you've got the bent press, bottoms up press, seesaw press, tall kneeling press, half kneeling press, and the seated V press, okay? The seated V press, excuse me. And again, that's just to name some. You can come up with other variations as well. Personally, push presses always make my presses go up. Okay, over the last 30 years, every time I test it, throw push presses in, press goes up without fail. Some people say TGUs make their presses go up. For me, not at all. Okay, now why do push presses make my presses go up? And why do I recommend you try them? Well, because I can either, or you can either use more weight, right? Do more reps, or more reps and more weight with the push presses, okay? And that stands to reason that all 3 of those are forms of overload, which is how you make a muscle or the body stronger. Okay, if you're interested in using a program that uses pressing specialized variety, I recommend using the Giant X2, and I'll leave a link for that in the video description below. So what are the other 3 strategies? Well, we'll cover those in our upcoming videos. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, click the like button, smash the subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber, leave me a comment in the comment section below, and finally share it with a friend you think might find this video helpful. Until next time, my friend, stay strong.